Hey, welcome back to Cleflin Nights. This is a ongoing vlog of the never-ending story of my game that I play with my friends for more than 30 years. And so we last left our heroes. We were first we left Ray as he's on Earth 210, point 24, 11 July 2017. Yeah, just a couple weeks ago. And he just got on his ship. And, well, now that he's on a ship and decided to get a swimsuit on, get something to eat, he heads towards, he asks, he names the ship Serenity, and he says, take me to the Luna device on the asteroid. And there's a Luna device, as per all the tens, on an asteroid instead of on the moon, which Luna would indicate. And in this case, that's what he does. And when he gets closer to it, he tries to call out to the asteroid, oh, hey, there's people on board, let me talk to them. And they quickly figure out who he is and what they need to do with him. Oh, hey, he's human and earthling. We do not need, well, he's actually a mutant, but we don't need him to know of our existence here as we're scientifically monitoring Earth or whatever. It's the shrine. So they beam two on board his ship and they try to apprehend him, but that triggers his nowhere power that he didn't know he had. And I call it the nowhere power, but we might call it a variety of other things as time goes on. I don't know. But nowhere. He goes to nowhere. Nowhere is this place where basically no life exists. Yes, life does exist as in plants and stuff, but no humans or other. And so when he's there, anything he does, life back in somewhere continues on, but nowhere he can do things. So he moves the ship and he goes down to the Luna device on the asteroid, and he leaves his ship. But when he unconsciously heads back to nowhere because he doesn't know what he's doing yet, and he goes back to somewhere, the ship's gone, and they realize that he's on board their lunar station, and they send out security alerts, beam two other people in there to try to handle him. And as they try to get him, he goes into nowhere again. Does this get a little confusing? You should be able to keep with it. But so while he's in nowhere, he moves on through the alley and up towards the ops area. He's in the elevator when he's starting to realize, am I triggering these events? And I'm going places where there are no people. When there are no people in a Luna device, you can control it. If the people that are there controlling it normally are there, then you can't control it. So in this case, it's becoming he's controlling it when he's in nowhere, but when he's somewhere back in Earth 210.24, they have control. And he says, I got to get back to my ship, and uses the beaming device to beam himself back to the ship, come back to somewhere, and then leave quickly out of the area. Leave the shrine behind. And so then he goes, well, now onto the mission. Let's start this. His mission, his deal, is to create a team. So, to give him more characters on Clefland. And doing this, he says, let's go to Cocoa Beach, try to find Carol Danvers. So he flies down to Florida, Cocoa Beach, Air Force Base there, finding out that she's in the hospital from an explosion that took place yesterday. 210s are based on day one instead of year one, like 10.3 would have been. And day one, she got injured and to get her powers. And I'm picturing her like Brie Larson because that's who's going to play her in the movies, even though she doesn't match some of the art that people have done on her. And so he goes there. Meanwhile, at the same time, he has to play young Rey. There's a Rey of this world, just like everybody knows when you leave your world to go to your alternate world, to go to another alternate world. There's an alternate world that does live there, and we usually play them to give another perspective of somebody from that world, what's their life like. So, and this young Rey, who is just graduated high school and 17 years old, he's got the nowhere power too, but it triggers it during his run, and he notices that cars just speed off or crash into other cars, and he's like, what the heck is that? He's checking these things out, but he's going on and off nowhere, and he's like, I just finished my run way faster than I should have. But while he's in his house showering, the Shrine locate him as well and said, we need to get rid of this guy, or get a control of him or something, because the other Rey is becoming difficult for them as well. And they beam to his residence, and he tries to fight them best he can, going in and out of nowhere, getting more and more Shrine pistols and trying to shoot them when he comes back. He's not realizing it until he gets deeper into this fight between two. And most of these Shrines that are taking him on, they're not professional. They're not the military Shrine. Even though all Shrine are trained to use their weapons and stuff, but they're not like really good. They're scientists, and this is a scientific outpost, about 20 of them that live on the asteroid. So they missed in some of the shots, but fortunately, since he's like basically teleporting to nowhere to back to somewhere, they're missing him. Two other scientists Shrine are sent down to the hospital where Rey is pretending to be an Air Force officer and going to meet Captain Carol Danvers of U.S. Air Force. And she's being released today from the explosion that happened yesterday, realizing there is no damage to her body. We can't hold this chick. And so he's meeting with her, and that's when the Shrines show up. And then by going back forward, going to somewhere and back, he takes her with him to nowhere, and they are able to actually defeat the Shrine. So how but yeah, I forgot to mention this. When Rey was leaving the knowing the Luna outpost on the asteroid, when he got outside of their knowing range, he blasted them with a bolt from his lightning ship Serenity that took out their transporter system for a while until they repair it. This causes them they have to send all their guys down to the planet via shuttles. They only have 2 shuttles, so that's how they're getting everybody in there. So it's a little slower transit reinforcements. They can't just beam their guys out, but maybe soon they will fix their transporters from the asteroid. But anyways, young Rey wound up calling a version of me from that world, because he plays the game with my kids because they're all just out of high school. They just graduated. Ray, Joel, Frank, Alex, Chris all play the game, and he calls me. Well, he actually called everybody text, but I was the only one to respond because I was only there when they're at a game. So I leave work and I go and meet him. He's like, I got this power and I need some help. So, and I'm fighting Shrine. There's 2 of their bodies in there. I got like 5 of the Shrine pistols. And Carol and older Rey board Serenity, and then he goes up to Long Island to find Hank McCoy. Hank McCoy, yeah, Long Island. If he's day 1, wouldn't he be? But because all my Earth 10s is, I've had this Reaver scenario going on, and it's just a lot of a lot of the characters of the original X-Men and some other characters from my game all start out in, I think it's Deerport, Long Island. I just somehow have always plotted them all together, and so he's headed there to have to deal with what they're going through, and because he wants Hank on his team next, and he's bringing Captain Carol Danvers. She doesn't even know what Captain Marvel is yet, even though Captain Marvel is part of her scenario. We'll see how that works out. Anyways, so that happened. Let's move that aside. Oh yeah, last week I promised to update a little bit of Black World. Black World that was played 2 weeks ago. The four different teams that are there. Just a real quick, because they're there on vacation, and what Chris, who's amongst them, leader of Stars, he says, I like playing video games. And he actually triggers this thing to be able to play some sort of Super Smash Brothers. And he gets his team together and they play Super Smash Brothers sort of thing, And they're having some fun just with consoles. But then he says, well, if we go on the Fantasia device, we can make some sort of like Tron video game racing. And they're like, yeah, let's try this. So him and some of his team, they get into the Tron side of cycles, and they zoom around and have some fun, a little competitiveness. So they're actually getting some training in how to react with each other and with their powers, but they're having fun instead of this, okay, this is about training, that's all we're doing. And unlike that, Alex, Mindy, Hope, and David, they were just doing some shooting for fun, mostly because Hope and Mindy like to. And then Alex gets the idea, well, hey, how about we use the Fantasia device to make like a raid where, like the movie The Raid. yeah, they're all gonna die, but just to go take out bad guys in a building, which Hope, David, Mindy could do well, but maybe not so much Alex. But he needs to get better anyway. So they do that. And Joel Hastings, or Joel Lord, I don't know if he's going to go that route, but him and Celine, he's teaching Celine about all of the cities around the world, because she's coming from Nova Roma, and she needs to learn crap. So, done with that. So, that was our update on that. So, Cleflin, without the D, where did we last leave our heroes? Well, we last were playing, and we had you and Hans dispatching Kill Chain. Oh, and then they fought the druid guy. Well, Yu's not here to play, so Alex isn't here to play you, so you get sucked back into the Bloodstone, and pops out is Brandon. Brandon's like, hey, and Brandon's dealing with Hans now, and they wind up having to fight a plum mage that works for the Green Brotherhood, who turned himself giant. Yeah, plum mages also have the ability to do spells to make themselves large or small, and he uses that, trying to beat them up at the last straw, and it doesn't work. And he was the one that was actually guarding their outpost. So they hear, after they defeat this mage, because Brandon uses his neuro whips that come out of his arms that kind of numb people and knock people out, especially if he hits their head. They defeat this guy, the plum mage, and then they hear a yell for help. They go investigate. They find the Green Brotherhood's outpost at a tunnel, a cave that goes underground, and they find out that they had captured a girl called Runestone, and Brandon helps her get out of the handcuffs and stuff that she's been captured by. Hans investigates the cave and realizes that oh, there's some modern tech here. A generator. He starts to generate up. They got computers down there. And when Brandon and Rune, after Rune's been set free, they come down and investigate with Hans. Brandon sets off one of the computers to a self-destruct scenario. He didn't know what he was doing for a hacker. And too bad. So sad. And they immediately leave, and explosion. The Green Brotherhood's outpost blows up. Meanwhile, in the city of Cleflin, in Golden and Christopher Masters with their 7 Reds, they dine at Ray's Rock House and eating whatever food, and they discuss what's next for them, and they need something to do they've got money for clothing and stuff and food and shelter, but they need something to do, and especially with 7 Reds, actually he's got 5 of the 7 Reds with him. Yeah, so mostly they get a couple ideas, and they head down to the marketplace to get some weapons. I mean, even though they have these advanced suits that can create, sharp items, it doesn't create long swords. So they go to get swords, crossbows, and bows, and they'll be the killing machine sort of type. Adventuring group. And Chuck also comes in with a little play, and he loads up one of the ships down at the docks. Yeah, earning money. And so then we go from there to Cleflin with a D, another realm. And where we last left our heroes there was, well, first off, I tried to knock out a bunch of the players that hadn't been played with all of the Chris Prentice problem with this with the dragon and with the shadow mage stuff. A lot of people didn't get played, so I tried to play a little bit of those. So we went to Hastings, where James Lord was with Violet King and her sister Val. They have magical items that turn them into Asgardians. They all go down to Hastings and kind of show James around and have a good time. Xander Prentice with Matt and Elise Prentice, his kids, they go down to Mifflin to recruit Awazu for this tsunami that's coming in. Awazu brings, of course, Rachel with him too, and they all go back to Avatalos. On the beach of Avatalos, there's a lot of the characters are getting set for dealing with this tsunami. Jim Lord changes his power set to that like his father with the water control, and Awazu and Rachel double the strength of his power, and also Xander doubles his distance of his power, and it's this massive thing combined with other people. At the same time, Andrew is trying to control the wave and to stop it, and Tempest is out on Juno underwater as they're trying to create this. The Duke Frank has trying to create a wall and a trench to stop this tsunami from going up the delta and also into the Elven lands and stuff. So, but with these 3 mutant forces, they control the water enough to end the tsunami that's coming. So no more tsunami, which is cool, because that would have just been devastation everywhere. Thanks, Chris Prentice. Next, the Duke with his little crew on board after Tempest leaves via um, Anders, and then Anders also leaves. They since the tsunami's gone, they take away the wall that they were building in the trench and reconstruct everything back to normal. He takes the group up to Avalon. He investigates Avalon and finds out there's a big crater, and he goes down into the whirlpool, which this magical whirlpool is strong enough to move Juno, the lightning ship. So he tries various things. They're trying to look down into the rift that's causing this, and he can't get in there because basically you need water powers to get through that, and he doesn't have it. But Owen is with him, and as well as Gladius, and they take some rock and shove it down this rift, and that's causing the whirlpool, and they fly away. No more whirlpool. Yay! So safe seas. So, and back at Avatalos in the Pine Castle, the elves trying to deal with all the loss. For one, Xander Prentice, after he leaves the beach with his family and everybody, comes back to the castle, talks to his niece Chloe Prentice, who is now the Marquess. Says, hey, maybe you should leave the reins of this the march to me, because I'm older and wise, and you need to be young and party. He doesn't say party, but she's like, no, Uncle, I got this. Me and my mom will help manage the kingdom, because they lost loved ones, and I think she's a little upset at first. She's distraught, right? But she's now angry. Like, how could they just go and do such violent things without the concern of what their family thinks about it, or reckless? Yeah. So she says no, and he's like, all right, well, they're staying, I guess, the night until the funeral the next day, and her being crowned instead of Christopher Prentice being crowned. So, but by rights, she's the new Marquess, and her mom will help. And Jim and Mika, remember Mika Reese? She was saved by everybody down in the Underdark. Well, since Jim did primarily the saving of her, she's fallen for him. And Jim, Lord, they, via the time spot, head to Cleflin. Meanwhile, in Cleflin, they also find out that this tsunami isn't coming. At first, they had emptied out the docks for the tsunami, and now they decide, okay, well, the tsunami's coming, so we're going to send everybody out back to their homes and their works and whatever. So Jim and Mika come there with Awazu and Rachel. Awazu wants to go see his mom. Here's his mom's in Cleflin, and says, maybe I should go meet her. So he does. He goes to do that. And of all the things that have happened, I think I've covered most everything. Well, if you have any questions about anything, leave a comment below. If you like the content, hit like. Even if you don't like it and you just watch us, hit like, because I would like to see some likes. Subscribe above if you want to join more of Cleflin Nights in our ongoing journeys into the Endless Story realm. And see you hopefully maybe next week, because I'm going out of town next week, but I don't know where I'm going to get time to do this video. So hopefully we'll see. Good night.